Ibrahim Sangaré is still priority numero uno for Nottingham Forest. Welcome to your transfer news. Good morning, good evening, or good night, wherever in the world you are, whatever time of day you're watching this. Hope you're having a fantastic day. And welcome to your latest Nottingham Forest transfer news. And there is a lot to discuss. Coming up in today's video, we will tell you why he is still number one, the main man right here, Sangare. But we'll tell you who the backups are for Nottingham Forest. We've got the latest on Dean Henderson, some developments on Jono, and a bid being put in for a left back who doesn't actually look that good. Plenty to talk about. Before we get started, if you haven't already, please don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you are new. And look at this sign framed LED Iwani shirt. There's only a handful of tickets left for it. If you want to be in the draw for that, go grab your tickets from Football Prizes. The link's in the description. And then finally, if you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Get your admission tickets for the FFTV podcast and barbecue, which is happening on the 6th of August at the Trent Nav in Nottingham. Doors open from 3 p.m. Let's get into this. There's a lot to talk about. Okay, so where were we with Sangare? Well, let's rewind about a week or so ago when we told you that his representatives had gone out to Greece to meet with the Greek father, etc., and start having initial chats. And then from then, it's gone really quiet. Loads of you have been asking me what's the latest, and there hasn't been too much movement. However, come yesterday, reports coming out from Holland now are saying that Forest are definitely in the race for Sangare and that Forest are actively chasing him down, which we knew anyway. But what's interesting about this is how is the player feeling about it? He does want to move to the Premier League, but I do feel there are just niggling doubts in his mind about whether or not Forest is the right club because he may have his ambitions set slightly higher. Now, PSV are willing to sell, but he does have a release clause on him, and that's 37.5 million euros, which is about, what, 35 million pounds. There is rumours that there is a sunset clause on this clause that expires on the 1st of August. I haven't been able to verify if that's true or not, but if it is, then we are looking at about 5 or 6 days where Forest have the option to go for this. Now, what I feel is happening is that Forest do want him, but they don't want to go as high as the release fee clause. And they're probably looking to negotiate somewhere from about 25 to 30 million for him in pounds to get it. They do have that emergency option, the red button, if you like, of going for the release fee clause, but I don't think they want to go that high. Is he worth that fee? 100% yes. Look, if Forest were to bring him in, this is the marquee signing as far as I'm concerned. And what we do know is, based on what John Percy said today, and it's good to hear, that Cooper's number one priority signing for this summer is a CDM. And he has a short list of 3. 2 I really like, 1 I think hasn't been that good lately. So number 1 would be Sangare, fantastic. Number 2 is Tyler Adams on that list. Brilliant, I'll take either one of those. Problem with Tyler Adams is he's out until October. I don't know if it's still connected to that hamstring injury he picked up last season or it's something fresh, but that does worry me. And then number 3 would be Ndidi from Leicester, and he comes with a 20 million price tag. So of the 3, he's the cheaper option. But he didn't have the greatest of seasons for Leicester last year. Look, forget that they got relegated, which in itself is still hilarious. As a performance, there were still some standouts for Leicester, Harvey Barnes, Maddison, etc. And Ndidi wasn't one of those who was really pulling his weight. And is he going to be the right fit for Forest? I don't know. But if Forest went for Sangare or they went for Tyler Adams, I think either would just be phenomenal for what we want to do this coming season. So the good news is that Sangare is the number 1 choice. We've had that confirmed, both from Percy, we've seen Dutch sources as well saying that. I think this now is 2 problems with it. 1, does he want Nottingham Forest? Or does he see himself at a higher up club in the league? And secondly, how high are Forest willing to go on this price tag? Forest may, and Percy's confirmed this, and we talked about this in the FFP video the other week, Forest may be forced into selling Jono for the greater good of the team and for FFP. And I use the term greater good of the team very, very loosely because we all know what a fantastic player he is, and he's only going in one direction, and that's up. But they may have to do that because what Percy is saying now is that Forest are looking for around 50 million, and at 50 million, they would probably make a deal on Jono. And 50 million for where he currently is probably good business for Nottingham Forest. But more importantly, because he's come through the youth system, he would class as 50 million of pure profit when it comes to FFP. So for example, if we would sell, say, God forbid, Morgan Gibbs-White for 60 million on the books, that is not a good deal for us because let's just call it the 40 million that everyone BS's about. That only counts as roughly 20 million in profit. So Jono would give you over double that in terms of profit and in terms of the bottom line on what goes on the FFP book. So you can understand it from a business perspective, from a fan perspective, and from a player base and from a passion perspective. It would hurt. It really would. And I think there is nothing to say that Forest want Jono out because he's not part of Cooper's plans or he doesn't fit in with the team or anything like that at all. I think if this were to happen, it has to be, and logically it dictates that it would have to be a business deal. But let me ask you guys this question. Would you be willing to sacrifice Jono if it meant getting Sangare in, maybe Henderson is in as well, we'll talk about him in a minute, and a couple of other players? Would you see that as the greater good? Or is Jono not for sale in your eyes under no circumstances? Let me know in the comments down below. Fabrizio Romano has tweeted out that Forest are getting close to a left wing back in the name of Ismail Jacobs. From Monaco, German-born, plays for Senegal with over 60 appearances for Monaco and actually no goals. And oh God, what do I think of this player? Look, he's very good at attacking, but when it comes to defending, he doesn't really light me up with any kind of hope. Really, I'll be honest with you guys. He's probably only going to cost somewhere around, 5 mil is probably his value, maybe a bit less. But I don't know if he's the right person for the Premier League. I don't want to be critical of him. It seems like this deal is going to get done. But what I will say about it is that it's showing that Cooper is definitely looking and eyeing up a back three formation. Now, this guy is definitely left-sided. Let's clear that up. This isn't an Einar kind of situation. He's left-sided and would play at left wing back. And it indicates that Cooper wants that back three formation. In fact, even Percy wrote about it in his article today, saying that that's what Cooper is setting up for the majority of the season. And that does worry me a lot. Why? Because I don't think we can continue with the style of football we saw towards the end of the season where, we did get over the line. But I don't think that was down to the formation. For me, I feel that was determination from Cooper and his staff and the players just to get across the line by any means necessary. And you can really see that in those performances. And what we've seen so far in these friendlies is one against Notts County in a 4-2-3-1, which was good to see, even though the performance again was a loosener, shall we say. And then we've seen this 5-4-1 or variation of it in the following two friendlies. So it is clear to see that according to all reports and according to what we're seeing on the pitch, and who knows, that may change, that Cooper's looking for this 3-back with 2 wing backs. And Jacobs would fit into that formation, but he would be down as more of an attacking player than a defensive player because honestly his defensive stats are quite poor. Where he excels is in pace and the ability to move the ball forward. So in a sense, that may be the exciting side of it. I just think there were better options. Look, I'm not going to say Lodi anymore because that's done and dusted. We can't be sentimental. It's in the past. Move on. But there are still some good options. And the likes of Augusto are still an option and still on the table for Nottingham Forest. But with FFP, the old dreaded 3-letter word, still hanging over us, going for a cheaper option like Jacobs may be the way forward. Don't forget, we still have Omar Richards, Don't forget we still have Tuffalo until whatever happens to him. And as backup, you got Nico Williams who can switch from right to left back. And I guess you could put Einar in that category as well. But what it does make clear is that potentially Einar isn't going to be a starter unless Cooper is looking to push him ahead of the likes of Nico Williams and Serge Aurier on that right-hand side. Whatever you think of it, I don't think any of us can currently second guess what Cooper's plans are in terms of personnel. But what is becoming clearer is the formation looks to be, at the very least for the start of the season, a back 5/3 formation. But on this player, I'm not convinced. Well, let me say it like this. With Jacobs, he wouldn't overexcite me. I get the signing, but it just doesn't overexcite me. What do you guys think of him? Let me know in the comments down below. Before we go on to talk about Dean Henderson, I just want to take a moment to talk about Anthony Alanga. And I said from the start, when we were first linked with him, I was meh on him. I've got to say though, watching him on those training videos that Nottingham Forest released on their channel, I've been impressed. I feel like, look, my worry always is with these Man U players that come because they didn't make it as Man U players, is what do you end up with? We all saw what we got with Jesse Lingard last season, which was a car crash. But with Alanga, as I mentioned yesterday, I feel maybe it could be different. And watching him on the training video, I started to look at it and think to myself, how is his mental kind of approach to this move to Nottingham Forest? And looking on how he acted and how he was interacting with the rest of the guys, I feel he's looking at it as not just an opportunity, but a place where he can stamp some authority on. I feel he should have a bit of arrogance in him, and I think he does, that he should at least be considered as one of the names on the team sheet, if not one of the first on there. And if he can break into the team, make the position his own, and force Cooper to start thinking about building a team around the likes of him, Jono, Morgan Gibbs-White, etc., then that mentality for me I can applaud and I can get behind. But it's still early days on him. He's still got a lot to prove in the Premier League, but he is talking a big game, and I do like that and I do respect it. Yes, I know, I still can't get over the fact we've given Man U 15 million. I can't get rid of that bias I have against them. But putting that to one side, what I really like and I think is refreshing, and we haven't seen in too many of the signings, is this arrogance and determination and talking themselves up about what they expect from themselves when they put on the Garibaldi. So I expect to see Alanga perform on the pitch. Now, every signing comes with its risks. You know, it doesn't matter if you sign 30 players or 2 players. They could all flop or they could all be successes or a handful could be. It doesn't matter. It's always a risk. But when you think about it logically as well, the deal was good, 5-year contract, good on the FFP. If he does start to perform, his value is only going to go one way. He's already got hype because he's played for Manchester United. But imagine he has a season where he gets a handful of goals, a decent amount of assists. With the way he's, with the room and ceiling he has to develop, his price tag is only going to go one way. So I'm starting to come around to the idea that this could potentially, and that's the key word here, potential, be a good signing. But it is in his hands now. He's got to put it down on the pitch. But at the same time, he's got to be given the support around him in terms of the players, in terms of people progressing up the pitch to make those performances happen. You could put Messi in the worst team in the world. He's not going to be able to score goals and single-handedly carry a team. So the work has to happen around him as well. But I am quietly, cautiously getting excited about him, and I'm hoping that he does pay off. Now on Dean Henderson, this is where it's getting interesting now. We told you the other day that Forest were looking to do a loan deal for him with an obligation to buy. This still seems to be the idea that Forest are pushing, and Forest are still working on it. However, there are rumours that Dean Henderson is still injured and may not be fit and available for the start of the Premier League season. Now, how true those are, I don't know. Percy seemed to allude to it in his article, but I've also seen videos of him training on the Manchester United tour out in the USA. And like, why would he be out there training, doing the goalkeeper program, etc., if he's not fit or at least close to fitness? So do I believe these? I'm not sure. I'll let you guys decide on that. But I do start to wonder now, with only a couple of weeks to go before the Premier League starts, are Forest leaving it too late to get a keeper through the door? Because if they can't come to an agreement with Dean Henderson, let's just say Man U dig their heels in and they say they want closer to that £30 million mark than the £20 million mark, Forest are going to be left in limbo with only Shelvey, Horvath and Hennessy as real credential options for that number one spot. So I do feel, and again, I'll say it, I said it at the start of the window, Forest should have put an ultimatum on this and said to Manchester United, here is our deal, take it or leave it. But this whole loan to buy obligation thing does smell again of FFP to me, and Forest trying to be cautious with the money they spend. But let's be honest, and let's say you're a pessimist and you think Forest could go down. Not going to happen, especially after the prediction I made. But let's just say something like that happened and Forest did put a loan with an obligation to buy in this contract, and they went down and they were suddenly stuck with a bill of 20-25 mil for Dean Henderson to bring him into the Championship. That is risky as well, but obviously not going to happen. So I feel like this one is getting closer, but I don't know what the structure of the deal will be. I can't see Manchester United agreeing to a loan with an obligation to buy when they themselves are semi-cash strapped when it comes to the whole FFP situation. And Forest are still in the market for other goalkeepers. That is still the case. All the links we've seen before the majority of them have some truth behind them, and Forest are still talking. So I do expect two keepers to come in. I wouldn't be surprised if Forest signed their number 2 keeper before they got Dean Henderson through the door as well. Wouldn't surprise me at all. But at the moment, it's getting real close to the finish line. And if Dean Henderson can't be done, then this second choice keeper needs time to come in and integrate with the team. Because it's not so much of a big deal with Hendo. He's used to the place, he's used to the style, etc. But a new keeper coming in would need a little bedding in time. And the bottom line is, if Dean Henderson is still struggling for fitness, is this too much of a risk for us to take? Because at the end of the day, there are plenty of goalkeepers out there. And are we as a fan base and as a club, to be honest, starting to become sentimental and tunnel visioned on Dean Henderson? Or should we stick with him and see it through? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Okay, let's move on to a weird transfer link. And apologies, I said there was going to be a lot to talk about today, and there is. And this one is a little weird. Alexis Sanchez, the ex-Arsenal, ex-Manchester United Premier League player, has apparently agreed to join Nottingham Forest. I don't give this report any strength at all, but let's entertain it for the sake of it because it's weird. Would I take Sanchez at Nottingham Forest? He's 34 years old now, I believe. He was world class at Arsenal. Absolutely crap at Manchester United. In fact, he turned into a bit of a virus there. Why would Forest want him? That's a question I can't actually give you the answer to. And where would he fit into the Nottingham Forest team? That's another question I can't give you the answer to. And what are his motivations to come back in the Premier League apart from getting another payday? To me, if this is true, and I don't believe for a second that it is, this stinks to me of Jesse Lingard 2.0, where the benefits end up being with the player rather than with the club. And I would be 1,000,000% against this. I just don't see the benefit to us as Nottingham Forest to bring him in. Now, you can argue it would be a freebie, there'd be no risk, all this stuff. But we saw that last season with not only Jesse Lingard, but I'd also chuck Andre Ayew in there as well. Everyone said, oh, another freebie coming in. What's the harm in it? The harm in it is that we saw Ayew getting in on the pitch ahead of the likes of Scarpa. Some of you would say Sam Surridge. I wouldn't agree with that, but whatever. These freebies can potentially take the place of a person who could perform better on the pitch. So for me, Sanchez, if true, and I don't believe it, but whatever. No thank you, Forest. Stay away. Not only is he past it, but he is a virus. Go speak to Manchester United fans. See how they feel about, the shenanigans he did at their club. Go speak to Arsenal fans and ask them how they feel about the way he left Arsenal to go to Manchester United. Yes, they pulled Man U's pants down. I think they got, 40 odd mil for him or whatever it was. But still, this guy is past it. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Okay, so there's still plenty more to talk about, but this video will go on all day if I did. So we will wrap it up there. Those are the main headlines for you guys today. And don't forget, Nottingham Forest will take on the scum that is Leeds United tomorrow night. We, as always, will have the watch along for you. So make sure, if you're not going, you join us for that. Before you leave, as always, if you haven't already, please don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you are new. And go grab those tickets for both the signed frames, LED or one shirt, and if you haven't already, get your barbecue tickets from the Trent Nav for the Trent Nav. We'll see you on the next video, and come on, you Reds.